Today, we're heading over to Munich to enjoy some authentic fest beers. Not really, we're just hanging out in the man cave, but we are gonna have some fest beer.
Brew Tuesday, drink 2 beers, yeah! Drink 2 beers, it's 2 Brew Tuesday!
Hello, my beer drinking friends, and welcome to another 2 Brew Tuesday. I'm your host, Andy, and on today's episode, we've got some authentic German fest beer to taste. So, as many of you know, starting in mid-September, you hear nothing in the beer world except about Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest is a festival that began on October 12th, 1810, when Crown Prince Ludwig became the king in his marriage to Teresa. And it's actually, for the wedding, they decided to invite the whole town of Munich into these festival grounds that were right outside the city gates. Since that time, those festival grounds are now part of the city, and every year they have a huge festival that lasts from mid-September to late October, or the early October, and it takes about 16 to 18 days depending on the year, and they serve a ton of great German beers. So, the beer that's served at Oktoberfest is now what's called a fest beer. Now that's not the original beer that was served. For the first Oktoberfest, it was actually a Märzen. Märzen means March beer, and it was a beer that was brewed in March. It was like an amber lager. They actually then set it aside into the beer caves in Germany and let it lager, because it is a lager, for several months, and then they ended up serving it at that first Oktoberfest. So the beer is very rich and malty. It's got a little bit of a dark color. But, since about the, early 20th century, the dominant beer style in the world has been the American light lager. It's a beer style that just was exported everywhere, and people really liked that crisp, light finish. So since about 1960, I'd say, they've been serving what they call the fest beer, which, it has resemblance to those Märzen beers. It is pretty rich, and it's not very light, but it is have a light golden color. So it's a little more appealing to the masses, you could say. So first up, we have from Weihenstephaner their fest beer. So this brewery, Weihenstephaner, they claim sometimes to be the oldest brewery in the world. They've claimed that since the monastery was first there in 725 AD, that they've had some brewing going on. Their labels say that they've been making beer at the brewery since 1040. I don't know if that's just great marketing or if there's a little bit of truth into it. They definitely have a lot of brewing history, I'll tell you that much for sure. So let's crack this beer open, because I'm getting thirsty with all this talking. Ooh, a nice little hiss there on that. And we'll get this guy in a glass. So yeah, right up front, you can see it's got that beautiful gold color. Sort of a medium thick white head. It's got lots of bubbles going on there. Excellent clarity. You can see right through this glass. So yeah, right up front, I'm getting a nice crackery, Pilsner type malt character from this guy, but it definitely has a richness to it. It's not sort of like your German Pilsner where the hops sort of then come out. It does have a background of those, spicy, noble type hops, but this beer, it's really about the malt. That's really nice. It's again, the flavor on this is more about the malt than anything else. It's got like a little bit of a sweetness, but you can tell it's really well fermented and it finishes very dry. It's got sort of a medium-high bitterness, just enough to make sure it doesn't taste sweet, and then it helps it to finish clean so you're ready for that next sip. Obviously, if you're gonna pair this beer, it's a fest beer. Of course, you're gonna have some sausage, right? You gotta have sausage. You gotta have your German pretzels. And I can only imagine sipping this in Germany, in Munich, under a big tent. It'd be so much fun. All right, before I finish this beer, let's move on to the next one. All right, so the next beer I've got for us today is the Erdinger Oktoberfest. Now, Erdinger has been brewing for about 130 years. They're also in Bavaria. They're actually more known, as you can see by the label, Weißbrau. They make mostly wheat beers. So this is actually sort of a combination of a fest beer with a Hefeweizen. So let's crack her open and see what she's like. Okay, so again, this one's got a nice, gold color to it. Very thick head. There's a lot of carbonation happening in this guy. I may have poured it just a little too aggressively. It's got sort of a pretty good clarity, but there is definitely some haze to it because of all the wheat that's in this guy. So on this one, I'm getting a little bit of that Pilsner. I'm getting more of sort of a wheat note to it. It has sort of that bready flavor to it. Very subdued hops. And it also does have just a little bit of that Hefeweizen yeast character to it. Not really any banana, but just a little bit of clove. Very refreshing. Even just like a touch of maybe like a citrusy lemon. Just the little tiniest background of it. Okay. I like that. It has sort of a medium sweetness. Again, it's got a little bit of the Pilsner, a lot of wheat character to it, very bready. Sort of a medium low bitterness. I would say it's a little bit less than even the fest beer from Weihenstephaner. And then it also has a little bit of that clove flavor and maybe just the tiniest bit of the banana. Yeah, so obviously, again, it's an Oktoberfest beer. What are you gonna pair this thing with? Some German sausages, some pretzels. I could actually see this going great with a big, juicy steak as well. I mean, this beer has a lot going for it. Finishes pretty dry, although maybe just the hint of sweetness. Wow. Well, these are two excellent beers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you can, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget, we also really enjoy it if you subscribe to our channel. We've got lots more content coming. You can also check us out on Instagram and on Facebook. And until next Tuesday, everyone, Prost!